Hello YouTube, this is Ben with episode number 6 in the Java Hapnation, and today I'm going to be taking up the venustus, sometimes called the giraffe fish, and I have 3 of them here in my tank, and I want to go ahead and feature that fish. One of my favorite haps, one of the original haps I had when I first got into cichlids, and of course at that time with a 60-gallon tank, I couldn't keep him. I had to sell him. You can see him in some of my old videos. Turned into a very dominant male, very beautiful fish, but I did had to let go of him just to put him in a better home. But now I've got 3 of them going here, and whoever ends up being the most spectacular will end up in the 135 tank that no doubt you've seen in my other videos. So let's talk a little bit about the venustus. I went to a couple websites to pick up some information. You can see the websites. You can see them here. Live Aquaria, Seriously Fish, Cichlid Forum, lots of sites out there that give you lots of good information, like good tank mates and the fact that they need 100 gallons or more to get along once they put on some size. Good data out there. Venustus actually means dignified or regal. And that's the sort of history of the word. I was able to pick up 3 of them at a local fish store at about half the size they are here for about $10, which was a pretty good deal. I'm starting to see some flashes of color. You can see here on this one on the tail and on the back of the dorsal. He's also the most aggressive, so I'm assuming, or I'm hoping, this one turns out to be a male. The males can be pretty spectacular with a lot of blue in the face, especially if they're in breeding dress. And so if you have a female in there, and they can have a very nice yellow blaze that runs from the dorsal across the forehead to the lips. So I'm hoping I'm going to get a very nice specimen from this group of 3 that I picked up. And so I have high hopes for them. You really don't want to have more than 1 in a tank at a time, more than 1 male, because they can be very, very hard on each other. And so you're probably going to want them to be solitary. And they actually do like to have some rock work. They do like to have some places where they can hide around or lean against. They're actually cousins of the living stony, which I have one in here, and I believe I've talked about before in earlier videos. They're cousins of the living stony, and will lay and sometimes even plow into the gravel, into the substrate or sand, and play dead and wait for an unsuspecting fish to come by. Here's the living stony. They're sort of cousins. And I'm hoping that living stony will get along with the venustus. Once I move 2 males to the 135, I hope they don't end up killing each other. So I would end up probably just keeping whichever one of the 2 was the most spectacular. They can get about 10 inches in the wild, maybe 12 inches. They're lake wide in Lake Malawi and at numerous depths in the lake. But they can actually do some of the burrowing or acting dead in order to catch fish. Once they get larger, you shouldn't keep them. Definitely don't keep them with any fish that can fit in their mouth because they will eat that fish, especially mbuna. Like a lot of predator haps, they find mbuna particularly tasty. So you don't want to have any small mbuna around this guy. He's also referred to sometimes, probably from the markings, as a giraffe hap. And you can see why, just by looking at the markings on him. One of my favorite haps, definitely a no-nonsense fish. And but once you put him in a tank with comparable, similar size haps, they'll tend to get along okay. They will not make it their mission to destroy each other, usually. As we know, as cichlid keepers know, there are always exceptions. They do like a little veggie in their diet every now and then. You know, I throw a veggie wafer in here, you know, and they eat it up. Probably a good idea in general with haps, just to kind of help them with their intestinal tract, which tends to sometimes get clogged, creating Malawi bloat, and in a lot of cases that leads to death. So some kelp or veggie wafers are a good idea. So that's it on episode 6, the venustus, or the giraffe hap. And I have high hopes for these guys. I'm looking forward to watching them color up, get the blue in the face, get the yellow blaze on the forehead, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it.